10-14-64, 120. The exact number is debated, but there are fatal points on the human body. If one of these places is so much as touched, it will kill the person. And if one of those points is cut with a blade, the person dies screaming in mortal agony. Hence the name, death throes. If Unit 901 ATT has any positive qualities, it's that it lets people like you, Corporal, hear those death throes. Corporal, the development of weapons and arms advances in a certain direction. The goal is to be able to attack from as far a distance as possible. Creating weapons that reach the enemy while keeping your own soldiers out of attack range is of course the main idea. But that aside, there is an underlying psychological reason for this goal. People do not like to face the realities of committing murder. When one person kills another, the sensation of murder remains on their hands. For example, it's said that even when a gun is used, a skilled gunman can feel the impact of a bullet. But the further removed a person gets, the more diluted and transformed the sensation becomes. Hence, the desire to get as far away as possible, to dissociate the act from murder as much as possible. Human nature is innately good. Not the kind of good preached by holy men, but the kind that takes the instinct within animal behavior that command living beings to increase and maintain their numbers, groups them together, and calls it good. That's all it is. That innate good rejects the feeling of murder, of reducing the population it worked so hard to increase. Someday, a technology might exist that will allow a person to kill hundreds of people from hundreds of kilometers away with the push of a button, and the murderer will barely feel any causal connection between themselves and their victims. But as of now, no such weapon exists. The sensation of death always lingers on the body. That's why we make up for it by rationalizing. We widen our definition of good. We claim that killing in the course of war is unavoidable, that murder on the battlefield doesn't negate a person's goodness. Those on the side being invaded, for example, might think in such a way. They might think that casting doubt and asking why is foolish. But if some of them avoid being controlled by those ideas and continue to demand why, the others would surely react in a manner similar to outrage and attempt to silence them. Because people know, they know that if they dig deep enough, killing in battle does indeed negate a person's goodness. Many will say that war is foolish, and that those who fight in wars are foolish also. But if you were to point to one of them and accuse them, "You're foolish because you killed in battle," that person will likely change their tune and refuse to admit to being a fool. That's right. Killing in the course of war is unavoidable. It's a very well-constructed phrase. I'm not being sarcastic. I truly believe it. It divides human good into two layers: an outer shell, or the masses, and the inner core, or the individual, and shifts the blame entirely on one of the two. It means that if the goodness of the outer shell is broken and negated, but the inner core is still intact, the outer layer can eventually be regenerated. But you can't do that, can you, Randel Oland? If you accept that killing is inevitable, you're rejecting your memories with your father. You've never defeated enemy soldiers. All you've been doing is committing a string of murders in foreign lands. That's exactly why 901 ATT is perfect for you. While war progresses towards achieving the maximum distance between attacker and victim, this unit continues to engage in close-range combat. You are able to feel, with raw intensity, that you are killing another person. You can sense the heat of their body on the other side of a single sheet of steel. You can hear their voice, no, their death throes. Maybe someday, we too will be supplied with weapons that can be used from afar. But even then, Corporal, if you want to stay you ought to become very familiar with the Marmaccheda.